Hello Reborners, my name is Karen and this is Making Dolls with Karen. We're back with Wendy and we're ready to put some layers on her, I think. She's about as dark as I think her blushing is going to get. It doesn't seem to be taking well on this doll. She's properly sealed. I can feel all over her that she's got a good coating of sealer, but I just don't know. But we're going to start with some 05 next on her, and we're going to give her a little bit of color. If I can find my sponges, good grief, this is such a mess trying to find your sponges up here in this little bin I have them in. Oh, there's 3 sponges, that should be enough. Okay, all right, I got only this much left, but it's enough to do her. It better be. That's all I got to say. It better be enough to do her at least once. I might have to mix before I can do her a second time, but this should be enough to do her once. It might be even twice. I don't know. But we are going to have to mix. I hate having to mix colors again because, well, I just hate it. Okay, Wendy, here we go. Oh, I've got it all over my fingertips. Wendy's definitely going to be an interesting doll. That's all I can say. But she's got an interesting looking face, and I was really excited to do her, but she's just not taking color the way she should. I don't know what's wrong with her. I don't know if I should stop and reseal her. I don't want to do that because, well, sealer's scratchy and thick, and it takes 2 bakes, and it takes a long time, and I just don't know. Maybe she'll just be a pale baby. Maybe she'll come out all right. Who knows? A lot of times I'll say, I just don't like this doll. It's not coming out the way I thought. And then when I get finished, I go, well, she's not so bad after all. So we'll see. That's all I can say is we'll see. Oh, I'm trying to bump up my dolls for Christmas rush. Trying to get enough of them made so that I can get them, sold on the Christmas rush. I've got them on a sale right now to try to weed out some of them before the Christmas rush, but I don't know how that's going to work. People are reserving their purchases. They did it last year too. They don't buy until mid-October usually. I mean, you might sell 1 or 2 here and there, but you're not going to sell a bulk of them until people really start thinking about Christmas about mid-October, and some people don't even do it till November. And your sales will just be, sometimes I was sending off 5 dolls a day, and it was just unbelievable. And some days, you'd have a spurt of no dolls at all for about a week, and then you do 3 dolls, and then next week you might do 7 dolls, and it's just all different. It just depends on what people are looking for, how quickly they find what they want, how long they want to wait and see if you'll go down. And I've been sending notes with my offers to people. This is the lowest it's going to get before Christmas, so they'll know. But, a lot of people, they just don't believe that. And so, they just wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, but I'm not going any lower. I think that's low enough. Trying to keep them affordable, so anybody who has, a lot of people buy them for their little girls. They're not really meant for children, but people do it. They do it all the time. And some little girls' dream is to have a reborn baby doll. If they're 10 or 11 or 12, they're probably old enough for one. But some people get them for 4 and 5-year-olds, and I don't think that's a good idea, but that's just me. I don't really care. Once they buy the doll, it's theirs, and do whatever they want to with it. And, but anyway, for some little girl to be disappointed because her mother couldn't get a good deal on a doll and didn't buy her one, that's kind of heartbreaking. So I try to keep my dolls kind of cheap. They're not cheap, but rooted hair dolls usually go for a lot more than what mine go for. And people always comment after they get the doll about how pretty it is. So they must be okay dolls, but they just don't sell. I don't really know what other people, how many sales they get. I know some people say that they're getting $1,500 and $1,600 for dolls, and some people even say they're getting like $3,000 for a doll. And I'm going, okay, it must be a fabulous doll, but still, I don't know what they're, do they make a doll a month? Do they make five a month? Are they selling more than $1 a month? Who even knows? I don't even know. But I'm just saying, for that kind of price, I would have to absolutely be in love with the doll. That is way too much to me to pay for a doll. I mean, even if it was for myself, that is a lot of money. When I was buying dolls instead of making them, I would look for, now this was years ago now, I have to say, this was before COVID, way before COVID. Uh, I would look for one doll that was around $200, and that was a high price to me. High price back then. And then I'd try to find the rest of them bargain babies. And sometimes the bargain babies look better than the high price dolls to me. And sometimes they have no returns, and sometimes they have returns within 30 days. Not that I ever returned more than one doll. I remember distinctly returning a doll that I thought was really pretty online. And the lady said, "Oh, look how natural her skin looks. It's almost the same color as mine." And she had her hand in the picture, and sure enough, it was very close to her skin color. But then the doll came, and I had never seen a doll modeled that much. And to me, it was just scary looking. It had green and blue and yellow. I mean, you could see the separate colors of the modeling. And I did not like it. Thank goodness she had 30-day return. I returned that doll because it was nothing at all like the picture. And it disturbed me. And I had paid $160 for that doll. And I thought, oh my goodness, that was my high price doll that time. I'd try to buy 2 or 3 dolls a month, and I was trying to get me a big collection of dolls, and it turned out that sometimes the dolls were just not worth what I paid for them. I did resell some of the dolls I bought, and after a time when I decided, well, I could make my own dolls, and I thought my dolls looked better, I donated a lot of those dolls too. And I just chalked it up to live and learn. But at my age, we shouldn't have to do much living and learning. We should already know everything. And my point is, things are not always the way they seem when you're ordering something like a doll. And so I try to be very, very descriptive about my dolls, and tell everybody, enhancements don't always show in the picture. It could look different from what you're seeing on the screen, because they just don't show in pictures. You might like it, you might not. So ask questions. Ask a lot of questions before you buy the doll. But make sure you really, really want it, like that. And people just don't ask. They ask questions like this. Does it take a pacifier? That's listed in the listing. And they say, well, how long is it? Well, that's in the listing too. And what does it weigh? In the listing. They don't ever ask, does this one have modeling? Am I seeing the enhancements in the picture, or are there more that I don't see? Does it have anything like a mole or a scratch? Or they don't ask those kind of questions. They don't ask. And so, I don't know. 90% of the time they're asking something that's listed in the listing, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. This one lady just continually texted me. Well, it's not a text, it's a message, and it was 3 in the morning, and I said, yes, she takes a pacifier, and it's 3 in the morning, and she goes, oh, I'm a night owl. I go, well, I'm not. I was asleep. There really is such of a thing as an inappropriate time to message people about a doll, especially since after you get the answer, you go, oh, thank you, and then you don't hear from them anymore. You just want to know if it took a pacifier, but you don't want to buy it. Okay, whatever. I don't understand people like that. Why do you care if it takes a pacifier if you're not going to consider buying it? I mean, was she hoping I'd say no so it would be an out for her or something? I don't know. I don't even know why people ask those questions. If you're not planning on The only time I ever ask somebody questions is I want to buy this doll, but I need to know these things first. And you know, that kind of thing. I saw this really pretty doll one time. It was an Ashley kit, and she was very cute. Oh, the skin tone was beautiful on that doll. And it just looked like a normal, everyday doll, except she had, I don't know where she got the horns. It had like devil horns. Then I said, oh, what a pretty doll. Too bad about the horns. She goes, they come off, they're magnetic. I said, oh, great. How much without the horns? And she removed the magnets even that were in her head. They could have held magnetic pacifiers, you know. I mean, bows. But she took them out because I didn't want the horns. I don't want a doll with horns. It was such a pretty doll, too. Very well made. Beautiful skin tone. But I just didn't want horns on my doll. Yeah, this is plenty to even do her again if I want to do a second coat. And then I'll mix some color while she's baking. Inevitably, every time I mix, it's a little bit different. That's why we don't want to start a doll unless we're sure we have enough color to finish her. Because, you know, finish that layer at least. If the second layer is darker, that's okay, because you're going to have it the same all over the whole doll. But if you do, say you do the head in two limbs, and then you run out of paint, and you're going, okay, well, I have to mix now. And then you mix, and it's a little different, and the other two arms and legs are just way lighter or way darker. You'll never be able to match it because, well, every time you mix, it's going to be a little different. It's just a fact. And we don't want that. We don't want to have, oh, this arm and leg is this color and that arm and leg is that color. It's just weird. So we want to try to keep our paint as even as possible and as color correct as possible. All that stuff. Anyway, if you're interested in a ready-made doll, I have a lot of them. About 60, I think, posted. I have about 6 to 8 more over here that I need to put together. Tomorrow's put together day for dolls. Wendy and that last doll I made, I can't remember which one it is, will not be included. Their glue will not be dry enough to put them together. So they will not be in that bunch because I'm just working on them today, and tomorrow's put together day. I'll probably finish Wendy today, but I won't be putting her together because she's, like I said, her glue has got to dry. Plus she's got to get hair. She may not even get her hair today. There's a doll in front of her to get hair. And I'm not particularly all that slow at hair, but I don't think I can root 2 dolls in one day. I sit up rather late at night and I watch television, and I root while I'm watching television. Actually, I watch television while I'm rooting. And you think that there's no difference in that, but it is. I'm mostly looking at the doll and not the television because you have to look at the doll to root it, or you're going to stab yourself in the fingers or something, or you're going to not root a hair because you're not paying attention, or something. Something's going to happen because you're looking at the TV too much. So I'm usually listening to the show. You can tell a lot by just listening. I used to wonder if blind people listen to TV, and I didn't know, but I think now maybe they do, because you can tell a really, really lot about what's going on a TV show just by listening to it. Now, it's true if somebody's like frantically running through a house or something and they're not speaking, you don't know what's going on if you're not looking. Now, something like that is true. But at the same time, that doesn't happen much on, well, it does on scary shows, I guess, but a lot of the shows I watch are reruns of shows I've seen before. I like older shows. And even though you don't particularly remember that particular, episode, it's familiar enough that you know that Andy Griffith is sitting in his office talking to Opie or something, you know. I mean, I'm just using that for example. I don't really watch Andy Griffith. But I do like older black and white shows. Gunsmoke is my favorite show. If somebody said, what's your favorite show on TV? A lot of people would say, oh, she's going to say this or she's going to say that. But she's going to say Gunsmoke. I watched it as a child growing up. And all my life it's been on. It started coming on when the year my older sister was born. Not that I watched it when I was a baby or anything like that, but I'm just saying it's been on my whole life. And one or the other channel has had a rerun on it almost my entire life. Nick at Night used to have it on Nickelodeon, and I used to watch it there. And then it was on Encore Westerns for a long, long time, and I watched it there. And I finally bought the 30-minute black and whites. I have all the 30-minute black and whites on DVD. And but when they moved to an hour, they had a few seasons that were still black and white. And I vastly prefer the black and whites to the colors because they just had better storylines. I don't know, they tried harder, I think. After a certain number of years of a show being on, they've just about told every story there is to tell. That's what I find. And there's hardly anything left, and they start becoming more, I don't know. Gunsmoke started sometime in the color episodes. It started not even hardly having Marshall Dillon on it. Sometimes he only made a cameo appearance. And he, like he'd come up at the end and arrest somebody. He'd be out of town in one of those other cities that was close to Dodge. I can't even, Wichita or somewhere. Hayes City or one of those places that's close to Dodge City for the majority of the episode. And right at the end, he'd come riding up, and Kitty would say hi to him or something. And he'd say, well, how's everything been in Dodge? And she'd say, you wouldn't believe it, or something like that. And that'd be the end of the show. He only was on it for that little bit. And I didn't like that, because I liked it when he was on, had a big part on every episode. And he was the main character on the 30-minute shows. Mainly was him. And Chester a little bit, and, you know, Kitty and Doc and all them a little bit. But it was mostly about something to do with Marshall Dillon. And I really like Gunsmoke. It's one of my favorites. But those color episodes started getting not so good. I don't know. I mean, the first few years they were all right. But when it started, I read that years later, I always wondered why Marshall Dillon wasn't hardly on a lot of the episodes. And then years later, I read that he had terrible arthritis. You know, he was like 6'7", which makes him way, way bigger than the average person. And the strain on his bones and stuff was just painful for him. And so they wanted him to ride a horse. They wanted him to do all these things. He'd rush in with his gun. You know, when he was younger, it was probably a lot easier. But as he got older, his arthritis got so bad that he simply couldn't hardly do it anymore. And which is sad, because he was such a good actor, I think. And he lived to be in his 80s. For a tall person, that is a long life. I've always heard that tall people don't live as long as shorter people because their heart has to work too hard to pump the blood all over that great big body. And so it gets too much stress and strain on it. That's what I've heard. I don't really know if that's true or not. But he died, I think, in 2011 or 12. He was born in the 20s, I think, or the teens. I'm not sure. The 19 teens or the 20s. I'm not sure which one. And Anyway, he was a great actor, I thought. I really thought he was a good actor. Gnats. Gnats are so bad in this house, I'll tell you. Some of my neighbors said they had bad gnats too. We don't understand why. We don't even have fruit out. Gnats are usually flying around fruit. And for some reason, they're just flying around everything, including people. We live in the South, and sometimes we have summers where horse flies are real bad, and sometimes it's ladybugs. It's almost always ladybugs. They're not the real ladybugs. I saw something on the internet about it. They accidentally dropped out a different kind of bug that's similar to a ladybug. They had this project. They were going to beef up the ladybug population to help with the need for pesticides, because ladybugs eat harmful insects that are harmful to your crops. And so they didn't want people to spray so much insecticide, so they said, we'll just bump up the ladybug population. So for 2 or 3 years in a row, they ordered these beetle-looking bugs that were supposed to be ladybugs. But then I saw on the internet that there's a difference in what they dropped out here and what a true ladybug really is. They're just Japanese beetles, what they dropped out. And it has to do with the shape of their body and the configuration of their dots and stuff and markings on their head. They're different. These bite even. They're not going to just fly up on you and start biting you, but if you was to like pick it up or try to kill it, or it would probably bite you. And these live in your homes like a roach or an ant or any other pesky bug would do. Whereas real ladybugs don't ever enter your home. It's really weird how they can be similar in their look and size and stuff, but still be so vastly different. Anyway, they dropped them out by the millions. Starting in around, I know they did it in the year my husband died. He died in 2005, and they were everywhere that year. And they did it for years in a row. And it sure enough bumped up the population of these beetles, because now they're everywhere almost all the time. And sometimes it's stink bugs. Stink bugs are not our friends. Not only do they stink when you kill them, but they stink when they're alive too. And you don't think it's true, but if you have it in your home and they're coming in the windows and stuff, they can come in the tiniest little cracks. When I was staying at my son's house, I was in the attic. I wasn't in his house, actually. I had an air conditioner in the window, and they'd come right through that air conditioner, even when it was running. They'd come right through it and come into the house. And he sealed the windows really good with some of that sealer that you can seal up cracks with. I wasn't going to open them because, I was trying to keep it cool up there, and it's an attic, and so they're super hot to begin with, and I had the air conditioner running, and so he sealed the windows, so they weren't coming in the windows, that's for sure. And I don't know, but they're terrible and awful, and they fly right at your face and stuff all the time. And I couldn't stand living there, mostly because of the other conditions. It wasn't the ladybugs or the stink bugs, even though they were terrible there. It was mostly the fact that I was upstairs, and nothing else was, including no running water, no bathroom. I had to take laundry downstairs, dishes downstairs. I had to go downstairs every time I wanted to go to the bathroom. There was a bathroom downstairs, not upstairs. And I thought, what a weird way to do it. I just think that somebody built that and they couldn't figure out how to, maybe they built it themselves and they had a bathroom added and they couldn't figure out how to do it upstairs, so they put it downstairs. It's almost like a little apartment up there. My son was going to use it for a man cave, and then he decided he didn't have time for a man cave. So he was going to let me live in it, and I just couldn't. That was the reason why, though. It wasn't anything to do with them. It was to do with the fact that every time I wanted to do anything, I had to lug stuff up and down the stairs, and it was too hard. And I got to where I said, I don't want to pay rent. He wasn't charging me anything to stay there, nothing. And so I didn't want to pay rent, but I said, you know what? I think I'm going to have to, because I just can't do this. I can't be going up and down these stairs like this. It was too much. And then, well, when you get old, you just have to make it to the bathroom quicker. And having to go all the way downstairs and across the wood shop downstairs to get to the bathroom was just too long of a journey in the middle of the night, if you know what I mean. And so I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I moved here in February this year. This is 2025. Sorry about that. I'm stuck in the past. Anyway, my sister lives with me, and we share the expenses here. So, yeah, it's a little more costly, but I don't know. I just have to do it because I just can't do it any other way. Anyway, I've just about got a little Wendy painted here. She's very well painted, I think. Her paint looks fab, I have to say. And she's ready to go back in the oven now. She's had 2 coats. And I'm going to give her another bake, and we're going to come back and we're going to start on her next color. And I'm going to also mix paint while she's baking. So I would like to remind everybody, come back and hear more details about my life. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to work on Wendy some more, so come back and please like, subscribe, and share, and happy reborning.